Hey everyone, welcome to Kingdom Builder. I'm your host, Kelly Meade, joined by Jay Heilman today, and we are talking with the writer and director of the new Angel Studios film, The Shift, in theaters today. Brock Heasley, so happy to have you on the show today.
Oh, I'm very happy to be here, Kelly. Thank you.
I know this film is one that you have been working so hard on for many years. So,
A
how does
few.
it feel to you to finally have it done and out in theaters for the public to see?
Oh my gosh, it's incredibly surreal, as you can imagine. It's also incredibly satisfying. I've been plugging along this long, not because, hopefully, not for the sake of vanity and just because it was something I really, really wanted, but because it was something that I felt very led to do. And so there's very much a feeling of, I've finished the race a little bit, and that feels really good.
Yeah, I know it has been in like different stages of creative development for several years, and I was able to watch a release of it for review, and I cannot say enough good things about The Shift. I have
Oh,
always
thank
been a
you.
big fan of like action and hero versus villain type movies, and so this is like everything that I have been wanting in a film, especially with the overall message of faith in it. And I will say that it's been a while since I have literally sat on the edge of my seat, jaw dropped, waiting for the next thing to happen. So, very well
Oh, that's
done.
great.
And thank you so much for this film.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I mean, you're speaking to exactly why I made the film, which is I wanted to make a film that I wanted to see, and the kind of film that I don't think I have seen. So, it's a science fiction film. It's kind of an action thriller, edge of your seat. I love that. That's what we were going for. But it does have this faith element, and that makes it a little bit different. And that makes it very much this thing that I've always been like, why isn't somebody going to do this? And so I was like, well, I'll just do it myself. So that's what the shift is.
Well, we're really excited about this. And the shift features so many talented actors and actresses who did an amazing job with these characters.
For sure.
First you have Neil McDonough, Christopher Palaha, Sean Astin, Elizabeth Tabish from The Chosen, Rose Reed, and more. We did get a chance to talk to Neil, and of course, I think everybody can agree, Neil plays the ultimate bad guy in everything that he does, but he is one of the nicest guys in person from everything that
Totally.
I've heard from anybody who's met him. What was it like working with the cast for the shift?
Well, I am a first-time director, so getting a cast of this caliber for my first time out, like I completely recognize just how incredibly fortunate I am. But with that, as you can imagine, comes a little bit of an intimidation factor. Neil plays a good bad guy because he's very good at being intimidating, and yet, as you say, he is the nicest guy in the world. But just because of his stature, because of his status, I mean, Sean Astin, that's another actor that I've been following for a very long time. I mean, when I was a kid and I saw Goonies, I was just at the right age to where like I wanted to have asthma because Mikey had asthma and Mikey was the coolest. And that was Sean. And I didn't even know what asthma was. I just knew that he had this thing and he kept puffing on it in his inhaler. And I just thought that was awesome because Mikey was awesome. And so to get to work with these guys and to work with their level of talent. Extremely fortunate, and one of those things where I had to both pinch myself and also remind myself I am in charge and I can do this. And they were extremely supportive of me, which I will always be grateful for.
That's awesome. And wow, knowing that it's like your first feature film that you've directed, that just makes it even more impressive to me. And just you guys did such a good job. And as we've been saying, the movie's full of action and it's got the sci-fi and the classic hero versus villain element, but there's also the love story aspect to it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
not only the strength of love between two people and what that can overcome, but the love between us and our Father, God. So is there a certain way that maybe your faith was affected throughout the filming of The Shift?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think actually people who make movies, whether they know it or not, whether it's their part of their belief system or not, if they really are honest, they have an understanding of what faith really is because there are so many different ways that a movie can go wrong. I mean, it really is a miracle when any one of them comes together. And you'll hear that language used not just by people who work in films that deal with faith, but you'll hear that language used by anybody who works in films. It's a miracle when they come together because any given day of a movie, 200, 300, 1,000 things need to go right. And if just a few of them don't, the whole thing will fall apart. And so to actually get to the end of it and have a completed film, it is a miracle. And so this was a real test of faith. I mean, it took 8 years to develop this and to get this done. That will test anybody's faith. And so I have, if anything, what I have learned is that when I have the confidence of my Father in heaven, which I believed very early on that I did, number one, when he's backing me, I can plow forward in confidence and faith, even though I lack so much. But as long as he's backing me, then things are going to work out and it's going to be okay. And as unqualified as I may feel, especially as a first-time director working with veteran actors and a veteran crew, everybody on the crew was more experienced than me. But if he calls me, then he qualifies me. And I think that's true for all of us. And that was something I saw demonstrated over and over and over again, is that all the things that I was scared to do or that I wasn't sure I was up for, he made me more than I am. And that's something I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life.
Well, that's awesome. And the film is really, it was very well done. And I remember doing an interview years ago with Dallas Jenkins, who of course does The Chosen and is part of Angel Studios as well, when he did his first feature film, The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. And I remember him telling me the same thing. He said, he was a first-time director. That was his first feature film, and told me a lot of the same things, but he said the people on set actually made it easier for him to do his job. And it sounds like that's the same thing with you. And speaking of Angel Studios, this studio has just blown up in the last several months. Started with Sound of Freedom, which nobody thought was going to really do anything, and of course we've seen the immense and tremendous success that movie has had in the last several months. What was it like working with Angel Studios for this particular project?
Yeah, so Angel backed this project for the first time 5 years ago, back when nobody knew who I was. Nobody, very few people had seen this $500 short film that I made to kind of demonstrate, what this story is. And they were the first people really to come alongside me and say, you know what, we really believe in you and we believe in this. And they really had no reason not to, except for the fact that they just loved that short film and they just felt like there was something more there. So I am so grateful to them, and I've kind of grown alongside them. Angel Studios as a company is, it's really just about 10 years old, and so I've been there for half the time. When I visit the studio and I look around the room, I've been there longer than 95% of the people who currently work for Angel Studios. And so we've had a long relationship, a relationship in which we have both just been loyal to each other and stuck by each other to come to this point. And they have been so invested in the success of this film and my own success. And I'm just always going to be grateful to them and for what they've done for me and what they've done for this film. Without them, I don't think the film ever would have seen the light of day. Who in the world would back something as crazy as this? But they did, and now audiences are glad. I think audiences, as they get to see it, I hope that they see what Angel saw. I think that they will. I think that they're going to have a good time with this movie.
Well, that's amazing. And going back to the film, without really giving anything away, is there a certain scene that stands out to you as maybe one of your favorites that you did for this film?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot in this film, I think, to dig into, and it's a film that really changes modalities a lot throughout the film. When we were making it, we would make the joke often. How many films are we making here? Like, there's a whole section of the film that just plays a straight romance with no sci-fi and nothing, and then we're going over here, and guys are pulling guns, and then we're over here, and I don't want to give too much away either, but it gets a little. We're in an asylum in one part, and there's just all these different things that are happening. But I think for me, my favorite, oh gosh, if I had to pick a favorite scene, it probably is too much of a spoiler, but let's just say that there is a scene where a man is passing through a doorway, and every time he passes through it, there's something very unexpected on the other side. And to shoot that scene was it melted our brains, just to try to figure out how to shoot this thing, because we did it all practically. There's not really any special effects going on in this scene, and just trying to keep track and making sure that we were shooting it correctly, having things change, just passing through a doorway. That was a lot of fun and very, very challenging. And it's one of my favorite sequences in the film.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Like you're saying, it's hard to have a conversation about this film without giving too much away because there are so many little things. And like the trailers for it are awesome, but I keep saying every time I've seen one, it doesn't do it justice because there's just so much more. So I
Yeah,
really, really hope that people will go see it in theater, see it on the big screen because this is a big screen film. You need to see it. I
it
can't wait to
is.
see it on the big screen.
Well, and I
So,
love that you've
yeah,
said that
okay.
because there's so many trailers that you go and you see the movie and you're like, "Oh, man, it's just not as good as the trailer. The trailer was so exciting." And I do think we have the opposite. I don't know if it's a problem, but we have the opposite scenario here. So I love that you said that.
So what's something that you hope people will take away from after they've seen the film?
You know, one of the things that I love most about this film and that I'm honestly proudest about is that everybody who has watched it so far, when they are asked, what did you take away from the film? Everybody answers something different. Everybody is seeing something different in this film from everybody else. And I love that because I think it's the kind of film that when you revisit it, and I've had people tell me this too, people who've seen it more than once, it means something different to them each time, depending on what's going on in their life. And I think that is really, really exciting. So I hesitate to say like what my takeaway is because I don't want to set up an expectation. And because I think people are going to have their own experience with this. We're really delving into our experience here on this planet and what is really going on in a way that that leaves it open for you to have your own interpretation to it. While at the same time, I do think there is a very clear idea that we're communicating at the end. But to say that would of course give away the end.
Well, we are so thankful that you're able to join us today, Brock. I'm really praying that the Lord can do big things with this film, and I just hope it blows up this weekend in the theaters. I mean, it's an amazing film. Like Kelly mentioned, it's something that people need to see on the big screen. And fortunately, we've been able to watch it before, but I'm going to see it this weekend as well in the big screen because I want to see it with all of the special effects, sounds, and surround sound and stuff that I don't have at home when I was watching it. So, thank you so much for joining us today. And folks, if you want to get tickets for this, which you need to get tickets for this, go to angel.com. There's a link on there where you can see what theaters is playing and go get tickets for it. Brock, thank you so much for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it, brother.
Oh, thanks to both of you. Really appreciate the support. Thank you.